So we're further exploring the way how the world works by looking at our status when we're given as the principal product of our commercial paradigm. I want to further explore the thought of Heidegger in reference to enframing, the essay that he did about the question concerning technology. And so the way how that we can look at his thought in reference to time given as an economic good, and so therefore look at what we can learn maybe through this appraisal. So if we look at the way how he talks about enframing as a way of challenging, and so challenging life, essentially to conform to the dictates of the calculative logic of the thinking, well, what passes for thinking, that when you're looking at the way how technology has hold sway over our lives or our ability to think life, then in that way, if we look at it from that perspective of that it's a challenging and it kind of gathers together, when you're looking at you being the principal product, that enframing is totalizing to the exclusion of a way of life that wouldn't legitimize it. And ultimately he's orientated towards questioning obviously its legitimacy when it presupposes calculation or what passes for thinking in our paradigm. And if we think that we're given as the principal product and time is given as a resource, so the standing reserve, then you can frame his thought as that the challenge obviously sets upon us to reveal ourselves, and the way how we reveal ourselves is literally through the product that we produce ourselves as. And so through our production, we obviously we externalize what is thinking in order to be orientated in the manner of standing reserve. And so in that way, so it reveals us as the principal product or the principal resource, you could say, but then through doing so, it obviously conceals the nature of our humanness as well. Because if, following up what we talked about prior when we talked about the way how what is most thought-provoking is that we are still not thinking, and how if we equivocate calculation with thinking, we ultimately are externalizing our ability to look at life holistically, then the way how what happens through the orientation of our revealing ourselves as the principal product is that we conceal the nature of our existential status when we're given as demand centers or as something that can be quantifiable or given as a resource. So our given as a resource is in reference to the credit instrument that we are, so we can be instrumentalized, and so therefore the claims that it legitimizes on our personhood. And you only have to think of the way how that if you become a consumer, obviously you're a consumer, you're a customer, you're a citizen, you have all the artifacts that vouch for your standing. So the legalistic framing in reference to the demand center that you're given as, the legalistic framing, if you're looking at contract law and all the other things, relates to a world view that, your birth certificate, all the artifacts that attest for your identity, but as a person, but you're not really. They don't attest for your personhood or your identity. They attest for the credit that you're given. All right, and so that's always to qualify you in reference to the transition from the child to the adult. And so as I always talk about, that transition is from the child, the indivisibility of what is a child, to become manageable, or to become marginal, to become manageable, and in turn to become quantifiable, because you're given a limitation of agency that you, through the actuary self, manage. That enables you to become a credit instrument in reference to the power that presupposes it can manage you to an end that you don't hold out for yourself. When you take the understanding of enframing, the orientation is to an algorithm or what would pass for thinking. So it's very easy to see that this ends in AI, and like all the techno-futurists that like to think that AI is intelligent, well, it's not, because how can it be creative if it doesn't have if it's still beholden to the same calculative logic or the same, say, reductionism that works through the what we presupposed for thinking when we're orientated towards calculation. And we can say that because all the investment in AI is in reference to discounting. So in order to be orientated towards the technological kind of development of AI is in reference to the investment in it. Investment presupposes obviously money as a tool for thinking and the way how you discount the present in order to be orientated towards the future. So to discount the present in this case is to discount you as a credit instrument, that you can't potentialize your agency beyond the demand center or the credit instrument that you're given as. And so what's held out as a fait accompli or as some kind of great singularity is this kind of teleological kind of understanding that this thing is still so it's a given. There's nothing that you can do about it that can inhibit this say destining, as it were. But that destining is in reference to the enframing, which obviously has what passes for thinking to support the whole non-questioning that goes along with it. If you're looking at the issue of ecological destruction, it's inextricably connected to the consumer that externalizes our ability to think life holistically. Because if you were to think of your life holistically, you're thinking of not only your being as a human being, obviously we are Earth, and so therefore how can we look at life? We look at life marginally through the interest that leads, because obviously we discount the present to be orientated towards the future through the return that through the return that legitimizes our actions. And so in that way, the ecological destruction is just literally a mirror to the spiritual poverty of that way of thinking, as it were, or that way of enframing or crowding out what actually is thinking. And so the enframing, if you think of it along those lines, then you're looking at the standing reserve is the credit instrument that you are, or what is the asset or the product that you produce yourself, and the way how you invest in your redundancy. Redundancy relates obviously to productivity, which relates to the way how time's given as something that can be quantifiable, and so therefore can be linearized in order to generate a return. If we were orientated towards a wholeness for life, then productivity doesn't really have any bearing on that when you're looking at what is higher, what is a higher calling for human action. It's not productivity, it's creativity. But if that creativity is in reference to you no longer producing yourself as a consumer, but through your actions becoming a co-creator, then what you're doing is that you're breaking the bonds of that, the enframing, so the ability that captivates you to not see what you externalize. And so through doing so, you open up a vista or a destining beyond obviously parasitism or the technocratic arrogation of what they hold out for you. So maybe this is just another way to look at what he's talking about. Cheers.